This is rock and roll radio. Come on, let's rock and roll with the Ramones.
Hey, this is Marky Ramone here. You're listening to Play That Rock and Roll with Joe K.
Rock and roll radio. Let's go.
I want you to enjoy every minute of it. And keep rocking with Joe.
This is rock and roll radio. Stay tuned for more rock and roll.
And you can check out anytime you want. Just call me Joe. And I can play that rock and roll for you.
This is not a test. This is Play That Rock and Roll Podcast Edition. I'm your host, Joseph K., and like the song at the start says, just call me Joe. We're doing something a little different today. When I started this show, I wanted to be able to incorporate some of the various products that some of our favorite rock stars have endorsed or gotten involved with over the years, particularly alcohol products, spirits, and beers. At the top of my list of those was Heaven's Door, which is a series of whiskeys put out by a distillery that partnered with none other than Bob Dylan. Now, to help me do this, I invited my friend Chris to join me on the show. Chris loves Bob Dylan and whiskey, come to think of it, more than anyone else I know, which made him a perfect guest for what we're doing today. So in the hour you're about to listen to, Chris and I sample the whiskey and then proceed to talk about the one and only Bob Dylan. We talk about Bob's songwriting, his vocal stylings, and his relationship to both classic rock and folk. And we cover some of the funnier aspects of the man's career, of which there are several. And of course, we share our experiences of seeing Bob in concert. Now, Chris has the good sense to stay off social media and really doesn't have an online presence, so if you have any comments for him, you'll have to direct those to me in the comments below. So, without further ado, here's my friend Chris and I sampling Heaven's Door Double Barrel Whiskey and talking about Bob Dylan.
Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door.
What we're doing today is trying out Bob Dylan's Heaven's Door Double Barrel Whiskey, which is a bourbon, if I'm not mistaken. So, I'm going to give you this bottle to look over while I read a little section from the tag. Heaven's Door is an award-winning collection of handcrafted American whiskeys co-created with Bob Dylan. This perfect blend of art and craft. Each bottle of Heaven's Door showcases Dylan's distinctive welded iron gates that he created in his studio, Black Buffalo Ironworks. So, this dude is into ironworking. Did you know that?
Not before reading a little bit about the whiskey.
Okay.
Yeah, I had no idea. It seems like
I got friends who are into woodworking, but ironworking, I guess, when like you have the royalties coming in that Bob has, you can afford a.
Well, and when you look at Dylan, especially now, and like you look at his like how muscled he is, you really get a good sense of like that. That's an ironworker right there.
He-Man right there. Look at him. Look at this muscle-bound freak.
Look at that.
Reading a book.
What? All of 80, right?
Yeah.
And just,
I think he is 80 now.
is he 80? Yeah.
I could be wrong.
It is a slick bottle, I will say. The presentation's really good. I think I like it.
I do too. This is the sort of thing that, like, at someday I'm going to have a basement bar, and I'm always going to have a bottle of this behind me, because, like, unlike a lot of liquor bottles, this actually looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
But presentation only goes so far.
And I will say, I don't know if we're getting into the appellation or not. I don't think it actually qualifies as a bourbon. This particular one, the double barrel, I don't think it does.
Okay.
I think partly because it's double barreled, and also there's no age statement, and there's also no. It says it's a triple blend. It's blended. I don't think it's. That doesn't mean it's bad.
Okay, so with bourbon, so I got to preface this a little bit. I had a previous bourbon discussion with Steve Palick. And he said there are certain rules, like bourbon is determined by following a certain set of rules.
Bourbon, by its rule, has to be made in America. And it has to be aged in a brand new charred oak barrel.
And I couldn't tell you the exact mash bill, what it needs to be. There needs to be, I think, like something like a 60% corn. I would say greater than 50, certainly.
More rules, 51% corn.
This
Let's
doesn't
let's crack it open.
doesn't say bourbon.
I know they make
anywhere.
them. I know they make a bourbon.
Okay. Bottled by Heaven's Door Spirits, Columbia, Tennessee. No mention of bourbon on here. So I'm guessing this is just a whiskey. And I'm going to quote our boy here. We wanted to create a collection of American whiskeys that tell their own I didn't even do it right. All right. Stretch that apart.
Everyone does a good Dylan
Oh,
impression.
yeah, very original. Here's the ASMR section of the video. Oh, that's lovely.
Just giving you the mukbang. Thank you.
Oh, wow, I can smell that.
You poured a lot for yourself. Buddy.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to last me the whole time. Probably beyond what we're doing. Okay, awesome.
That's a good finger.
Yeah.
That's solid.
Oh, dang. All right. So so if this isn't
And,
bourbon,
and also cologne.
Oh, great. So while we're talking about whiskey here, what are your favorite whiskeys? What are we stacking this up against?
So, like, for bourbons, I mean, I like Buffalo Trace a lot.
Steve Ballack mentioned that one.
Yeah, it's a good one. My go-to of like a decent one is going to be I like Wild Turkey a lot,
Okay.
and not because McConaughey reps for it. I just like Wild
right.
Turkey.
I also like Lincoln Cars, not just because McConaughey reps for him.
It's good. I'm trying to think. And honestly, my standby, the one that I get frequently, is Evan Williams for just cheap. You're laughing. I will tell you right now that there's not a single better liquor that you can purchase for the money.
For the money, right.
Well,
Okay.
I've seen reviews where they put that up against people that do blind reviews, and it does exceptionally well. That's I think Heaven Hill makes that. It's a fantastic whiskey. It really is. It's on the Bourbon Trail and everything. It's a solid whiskey.
Okay, all right. So, you were telling me before we started you like Scotch. Is that your favorite?
Yeah, like, so bourbon is definitely. I like bourbon.
Yeah.
I like bourbon a lot. It's kind of my go-to because it's cheaper. Frankly, you get a better quality bourbon for the money, for sure, than you can get a good quality Scotch.
Okay.
But yeah, I do like Scotch a lot. I like Lafroig, Lagavulin. I like the Isleys or Isleys, or whatever you want to call them.
Okay. Have you ever had? I'm sure you've had Johnny Walker Black.
I like Walker Black. That's
Okay.
a blend. So like the other one that I said are single malts. That's a Walker Black is a blend, but it's an Islay heavy blend. So you get that smoke, iodine. I always like to say, to me, like a nice Scotch is like, it's like basically like somebody threw like the medicine cabinet into a fire on the beach. Like, it's got this just a good Scotch is like, I'm taking your, it's like a stinky cheese. It's like, I'm taking your word that this is something I can actually consume.
That is a great way to put it. Okay. Yeah, I've only ever heard I've had Scotch, but I can't really speak to it, but and I'm going to make some of my listeners cringe. When he was alive, I liked Christopher Hitchens, and he always said that Johnny Walker Black was the best, not just Scotch, but all whiskeys.
Johnny Walker Black. Breakfast of champions, except no substitutes.
If it's good enough for the bath party.
Right.
The best blended Scotch in the history of the world, which was also the favorite drink of the Iraqi Baath Party, as it is still of the Palestinian Authority and the Libyan dictatorship and large branches of the Saudi Arabian royal family, Johnny Walker Black.
Last thing before we start here, I want to give a shout out. I've mentioned him already. Had Steve Ballack on the show earlier. He was telling me about bourbon, and he was saying that if you're new to bourbon, or I guess any whiskey this has to apply to, as I largely am, because I've never really drank it without it being a shot, he suggested that you do something called the Kentucky Chew. Have you ever heard of that?
There's something called the Kentucky Chew that everyone should know and do before they try a bourbon, or even after years of drinking it, have it. And that is, you take a little sip, keep it in your mouth, and chew it. Keep it there for about 10 seconds, move it around, and then swallow it. Because at that point, you still haven't tasted bourbon. You are inundated with the taste of alcohol, and your mouth cannot process any other taste. It's slapped in the face by that alcohol. After you do that chew, the next sip that you take will be the first time you're tasting that bourbon.
I've never heard it called the Kentucky Chew.
Okay.
I like that.
Oh, yeah.
I like that a lot. I think it makes sense because, especially if you're coming into it, I mean, I'm drinking a Miller Lite. Especially if you're coming into it with like other food on your breath or just whatever, that's going to go a long way to probably kind of, even like the alcohol itself, desensitize maybe a little bit, bring you down to the base level, and kind of get you ready for. It's like dipping your foot into the pool.
Oh, okay.
Before you actually take the plunge.
Excellent, excellent. All right,
All right,
cheers.
Cheers, man.
To Bob. Okay.
So up front,
Did the Kentucky Chew?
me too. You're okay. Don't worry about it.
Oh boy. So I'm gonna put this on the internet of me making these faces,
It's
and
good.
this is like a point of pride that I am a total bitch. When
So
it comes
this is
to
100
liquor.
proof, right? So it hides its alcohol pretty well, actually, despite Joe's reaction.
Yeah.
It does hide its alcohol pretty well, but it's there. That's not. It ain't jet fuel. I mentioned turkey. It's about the same kind of bite as turkey 101. So it's just 100 proof, like roughly 100 proof also.
I gotta say, I feel it a lot more. Like
This is
going
good
down
stuff.
a lot more than anything else I've had, but it's probably the fact that I'm just drinking, a
So,
whiskey neat here more than anything
The only
else.
thing that worries me about, and I don't think it is, I think it's from the double bear. I think it's from the second.
If you want to take a sip from the bottle, feel free.
No, I'm not
Do
gonna.
that
I'm
for the
just
camera.
smelling it from the bottle. This almost has, and I think it's probably maybe from the second barreling in the new oak. I think they're using. It has a very pronounced caramel, almost toffee flavor. Do you smell that? Almost like caramel, like a caramel or toffee almost.
My
He's like, I smell booze.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, this is what I've just learned in my life. Like my flavor and my senses here, my receptors are not very sharp when it comes to noticing the differences, or even the flavors that are listed on the label of a beer or
It's good.
a whiskey or like that.
I'm gonna open it up. I'm gonna take another sip, and I might throw a little bit of water in there just to open it up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, is that that's something we can do? Because could
It's gonna help you out a lot. It's gonna open it up, kill some of that real sharp alcohol.
Right,
burn.
because what happens is,
Yeah.
as I throw it back, it feels like it's opening up the back of my throat. I'm gonna pour down the back of my neck
good.
or something. Yeah,
You need that.
yeah. I just don't drink liquors neat very often.
I don't either.
Yeah,
Even I'll be honest. I usually will when if I get a new scotch I don't know.
yeah.
People are angry because you were saying that you didn't know about things. I know that you're not supposed to do single malt scotch on the rocks,
Water does not cut that.
and I frequently do single malt scotch on the rocks.
Okay, yeah.
It's just what I like.
Yeah, I think I would too because I'm used to cold drinks, and like I think what's throwing me off. Yeah, well,
Yeah, what you do. No, just what I like.
okay.
Drink what you like, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I usually
absolutely.
try it neat first, so I can get the full. Then
I
I'll
did.
add a little water.
Which I did not do today. Which
Are you
means
getting this angle? Like, do we like later on in the if you edit out me spilling?
No, yeah,
Oh,
you
good.
can see. Yeah, you're fine.
You edit out me spilling, then everybody's he's really nervous.
Well, that's the fun thing about editing is there's a lot of things I can do with it. So okay, let me read
with
just a little bit. So this is the double barrel whiskey.
For the record, it's better with a little bit of water.
It is okay.
I think so. That's good.
Comprised of a unique blend of 3 different whiskeys, our double barrel finishing process utilizes hand-toasted new American oak barrels for a secondary aging worthy of another year's wait. Double barrels higher proof balances perfectly with the complexity of its flavor, with notes of caramel, oak, citrus, and spice. Sort of what you noticed.
I get no citrus from this at all.
no
Let me
citrus.
try it again. Everything else
for the
yes.
citrus.
Spice, caramel, yes, everything
Okay.
else.
Okay. Okay, then you know what I say to Bob about the citrus claim? You're a liar.
You liar!
Yes! I did not think I'd be able to reference, was that No Direction Home? Right? That's what that's from?
That is No Direction Home.
I don't believe you!
I don't believe you.
Okay, so...
Is that the Monterey Pop? Was that when he went electric?
Yeah, when he went electric and they called him Judas.
Yeah.
Judas! What a weird...
I know.
What a weird fucking
to care
thing.
that much about a genre.
Yeah.
Not even about like a musician or but about a specific genre.
He's changed from what he was. He's not the same as what he was at first.
You don't even recognize him.
No.
About a year ago, I saw him here in Sheffield at the City Hall and I thought he was magnificent. And, I thought he just couldn't improve if he tried. Then the next thing that happened was he went really commercial with this backing group. And I didn't like that very much. I think it's a bad thing. I think he's prostituting himself.
Makes you sick listening to this rubbish now.
I feel like the view was like
He was selling it. It wasn't the genre.
It wasn't that he was
genre
going into
hopping.
rock. It's
Yeah.
that rock and pop were becoming dominant at that time already. And so for these folk heads, it was like,
You're leaving
screw
us.
you, man.
Right,
Yeah,
you're going into the
you're
main-
going into
yeah.
the thing. I think that's the closest analogy. It's not like, but of course, then from our viewpoint now, it's like that idiom of folk. It's kind of lame.
Yeah, right. I don't listen to any of his contemporaries from that folk scene.
I do, but I know I'm a
Okay.
nerd for listening to
Okay,
it.
sure. Yeah, like Peter Paul Mary.
You're probably married a little bit.
Okay.
They got, some of their later stuff's fun. The Yuppies in the Sky. It's a fun song. Anyways.
To put a bow on the bourbon discussion, is this something that you would see yourself buying if you were in the... And I keep saying bourbon. This isn't bourbon. As far as the whiskey perspective here, is this something you could see yourself buying in the future, or are you going to go by your old standbys?
First of all, it drinks a lot like a bourbon. I think they just
okay.
can't call it a bourbon because I don't think it has. I think you need an age statement for a bourbon. I could be wrong on that, but you definitely. I think it.
God, yeah, I have a hard time.
The mash bill has to be, I think, a certain amount. I don't know if this meets that, but it drinks a lot like a bourbon. The sweetness is there. The whole thing. I think the fact that also they age it again in new oak.
Okay.
Because bourbon has to be aged in charred oak. First use charred oak barrels. So I think there's just stuff that makes it so they can't call it bourbon. It drinks like a bourbon.
Okay.
I would drink it again, absolutely, and I think it's worth every bit of the price.
Good.
I would say on like a scale of 1 to 10, B+.
Hear that, Bob? B+ from us. Why do you think he got into this? Of all things, why do you think Dylan got into whiskey? I mean, a lot of rock and roll stars, a lot of celebrities get into the alcohol market. Do you think he's a big whiskey drinker? But I mean, he doesn't tend to lend his name to stuff.
Well, and also, I feel like he's not lending his name specifically. Like he is lending his name, but he was instrumental in the creation of this.
Correct, absolutely.
He did the initial copyright. I think on like he actually like copyrighted like the idea of like bootleg whiskey. He called it.
Oh,
and they're coming out with like a bootleg series. I did a little bit of research on it.
Yeah. No, I misspoke. He's not just licensing. He's very involved in this, and that's why I'm asking.
For sure, I do think he's been very careful about the way in which he, and I think he like at a press conference in like the early '60s, mid '60s. I think he made a statement something that like they asked him like, would you ever let your music be used to like sell something? And his response was like women's underwear.
Right.
If you were going to sell out to a commercial interest, which one would you choose?
Bob? Ladies' garments.
He definitely said women's underwear.
Right.
I know when like
And
people
then-
were like how inconsistent that is. Back in like 2003 when he did the Victoria's Secret, I'm like, no.
Just don't know what to do. I'd give anything to be with you.
That's like 40 years back consistent with what
that
Dylan
is-
said he'd do.
That was truly playing the long game for him. And I wonder if he only really agreed to it if he could have just like was allowed to hang out on set with all the models.
I think you're more convinced that there's a creeper vibe from Dylan.
No, I'm
not
teasing.
as.
Is he married?
Oh God, he has been.
Has been married, and I don't think
he was married to. He was married to. I think he was married to Jacob Dylan's mom.
Okay.
Which is who this bad boy. Oh God, I'm smelling like Blood on the Tracks.
Blood on the Tracks.
Is
I remember reading a story. He toured with Mavis Staples a few years ago, and the story was that he actually hung out with her a little bit, like once, after a show. Because the story about him is that whenever he goes on tour with these other bands, he's nowhere to be seen. Like he does not hang. You know, I think it was My Morning Jacket that like agreed to tour with him specifically to meet him, and they never met him. And they were just like, yeah, I don't even know why we did this.
You know who did meet him on that tour though? We talked about this. That's the tour I was talking with you the other day. That Wilco.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Tweety talked about that. He not frequently, but did have some opportunities to do some stuff with Dylan and to play a little bit of music with him and stuff.
Okay.
Could be because Jeff Tweedy's amazing. My Morning Jacket's okay. Good band. I like.
Yeah, but one of the stories was Mavis Staples toured with him, and she did get to spend some time with him, and she talked about like how, you know, if a couple of things fell different ways, they might have ended up married back in like the 60s or 70s. There was obviously some sort of, you know, mutual attraction there. And like she talked about, you know, cooking him dinner, and like it was like really sweet. But, you know, I think whatever opportunity for them to get together has passed. But it would make me think, like, has he been unmarried this whole time?
Yeah, he was married, I think, at least once. I think he's been married a couple times.
All right.
I know he was married. I shouldn't say that.
I could look it up.
Fairly. I look to you for like the knowledge stuff. I feel my way through life.
Right.
I don't think my way through it. There's a general impression, I think, that he's kind of difficult.
Yeah.
And I think to some extent it's true. I don't think it's based on, like, he honestly thinks himself better than anyone else or anything like that. I think at heart he's like a Midwestern guy. I really do believe that. I think he gets lumped in with sort of this like sort of intellectual, you know, Greenwich Village 60s thing, and it's stuck with him. I see him more as just a dude from rural Minnesota.
That's
who I've always like, and I think he uses some of these things to kind of protect himself and insulate himself from like having to deal with what would otherwise be, I think, like excruciating fame.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, it's not unreasonable to believe that he is a genuine introvert and like shies away from this stuff. But that generation that came up with him in the '60s has, God, made him into this like, you know, untouchable hero. I mean, like, I was going to ask, you know, just to, you know, one of the jokes I like to make is that like the 2010s are really post 2000 has just been 2 decades of him on his Lifetime Achievement Award tour, where he's not doing concerts, he's just going to different institutions collecting the Presidential Medal of Freedom and the Nobel Peace Prize or every other award that exists. It seems it's found its way to him.
Yeah, I mean, I think he it's his never-ending tour.
Oh, right, yeah. Never-ending Lifetime Achievement Award tour.
I think he deserves every bit of it.
Yeah. But I have to wonder, does he want to do these things? He looks miserable most of the time.
I think the Nobel thing, they made him, he didn't show up. Didn't he like or did he end up showing up? I forgot what happened with that. They told him like in order to like receive the award, he had to either write
an acceptance speech or
he
something?
Either wrote an acceptance speech and like officially presented it, or he went and he actually did something. I mean, I can't think of another artist, just lyricist, I guess you'd say, who would be more deserving. Like the closest I think a lot of people would say would be like Leonard Cohen.
Oh, okay. That was actually one of my questions that I had for you. Is there anybody even approaching Dylan's class when it comes to being a lyricist? You know, you mentioned Cohen. I mean, there's John Prine, Gordon Lightfoot. You know, I'm wearing a Bruce Springsteen shirt.
Yeah.
Neil Young.
Definitely not Neil Young. Neil Young is
probably
like
by his own admission.
Yeah. And Neil Young is like the living embodiment of rock and roll. I love Neil Young.
Yeah.
But not lyrically, not
right
where Dylan is. Probably not.
Yeah.
In terms of,
because I mean, it's not just the quality, like it's the quantity. The man's put out 100 albums. I mean, Johnny Cash and Willie Nelson did too, but they didn't write all of them.
For sure. Gotta be careful with that. I mean, like Stephen King's written a lot of books. Makes Stephen King the best writer of all time.
Fair enough.
And definitely, I would say there's definitely a lot of stuff. There's probably a 15-year period where Dylan put out absolute garbage.
How about the
Like-
how about the quantity of quality?
Yeah.
Would the amount of like stuff that you would say is like really world class stuff that probably outnumbers the high points of somebody like John Prine?
I think, and
Leonard
the other
Cohen.
thing with him too is I think it's. I mean, I know he's always sort of been. People come down on Dylan. He's just a good lyricist, but like when you look most of the covers, with maybe the exception of like All Along the Watchtower, the Hendrix version specifically, all of the iterations of his music are like very straightforward. They're very, in terms of the arrangements, very similar to what Dylan did.
Yeah.
Which speaks, I think, to the fact he's musically he's good at arranging music as well.
Yeah.
Which I don't think always gets. I think he's salty about the fact that he does not get the credit for that. He kind of says so. You read Chronicles. I remember that's one of the things that stood out. He talks, so he goes, like, people don't give me the credit for being like I want more credit for my music as well.
Sure.
Because I do all of my own music.
Yeah.
I arrange all my own music.
So let's go backwards a little bit. And how did you discover Dylan?
So the earliest thing I remember was I think it was like 90. We could look it up. I think it was like 93. So it's probably like 7. Yeah, and it was at my parents, and my mom put on the 30th anniversary concert. It was on like PBS probably. They always play those, and it was this like all these artists. I remember who I knew from hearing them on probably WKLH.
Oh, okay. There you go.
For Steve Palick. Yeah. Like my dad listened to and my mom listened to, and hearing those artists performing this guy's music and talking about this guy as if he was almost like a god. Like
yeah.
The way that, we were talking a little bit earlier about that kind of strangulating, like almost like fame. These are the biggest artists in the world.
Yeah.
And at that time, still probably more relevant than they are now. I mean, they're starting to kind of.
Well, I looked at the guest list, and you have not only true rock royalty, but you have contemporary artists.
Yeah, I think
who have aged very well.
I think at that time, it was I think Tracy Chapman was performing.
Yep.
There were a lot of artists who were also relevant at the time as well.
Pearl Jam.
Was Pearl Jam there? Yeah. Pearl Jam was there. Oh, yeah, they did. Was that Masters? Did they do Masters?
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, the Masters of War is a great cover.
Or at least Eddie Vedder was there.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Pearl Jam fans.
Sorry, the rest of Pearl Jam. I love Pearl Jam.
Pearl Jam was there.
Pearl Jam was there.
It was a good mix of contemporary and true rock royalty.
But they're all talking about this guy as if he's like the second coming. And, it stood out. That was the first Dylan album I had, was almost all covers. So I bought the 30th anniversary concert at the Sam Goody in Southridge Mall when I was like probably 11.
That mall still stands today, unlike some others in this town.
It still stands, although Sam Goody, rest in peace, Sam Goody.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got that CD.
Yes.
And then what'd you do? You wore it out, or did you think, like, I got to find the original, like the guy who actually...
Well, then we start, because then Dylan's on the album. So it's not just, he's
of course.
He's present. He does his thing. And then after that, I just kind of, and I couldn't tell you the order, but it was his 60s sort of standards. It was like Bob Dylan, self-titled, 62.
You got that one?
Oh, yeah. I think it might have been the first one I got, but, definitely that was one of the ones I got. Because I didn't know.
Okay.
Like my mom, my mom knew Dylan, liked Dylan. My dad liked the other artists who performed at the concert. They weren't huge Dylan fans. I'm not a huge Dylan fan. Big enough.
Yeah.
But so I ended up getting that one. Ended up Bringing It All Back Home.
I like that record.
It's a great one. My Back Pages. Which that's not. No, I'm sorry. That's Another Side of Bob Dylan. That's on that album. I'm trying to think what else. Times They Are Changing.
Okay, so 60s primarily stuff.
The 60s stuff, yeah. That was what spoke to me at that time. Disaffected youth and all that.
Okay. So when was the first chance you got to see him in concert?
So that was 2003.
What when
early
you
2000s.
Okay, so when you had
2002, 2003.
Okay.
It was at Eagles Ballroom.
Yep.
It was wonderful. We muscled our way. We got there late, but we were able to just because. So it was basically, I was in much better shape than I am now, and me and my buddy threw just the 100-yard dash with a bunch of like 50-year-old women. We won, and so.
So it was general
admission. Yeah. So by the time we made it up to the front, and you had some bizarre like Dylan like groupies who were there, like these like older women, like.
Tell me about that.
One wearing like a red like faux fur coat, and she's like, "You see this coat? Bob bought this for me." Like, did he though? Like next thing, he's like, "See how he set? Like they set the stuff up," and she's pointing. She's like, "You see how he's got his?" And this is when he wasn't playing guitar.
Yeah.
He's playing guitar again in concert.
Okay.
For a while he was only doing. For a while he was maybe he's not, but for a while he was only doing. Because I think he did when we saw him the second time. He was playing a little bit of guitar.
Okay.
For a while, his arthritis or something wasn't. Maybe they're shooting 100 chords directly. I don't know what's going on now. But for a while, he was only playing piano.
Okay.
Or keyboard. And they set the keyboard up, and she's like, "You see that? They set the keyboard up there so Bobby could look at me."
Oh boy.
And he's like, my buddy Kim, I'm like, "Kim, can we just? I don't want to listen to this the entire concert. I'm a bigger Dylan fan than you. Can we just?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." He probably hit on her then.
Oh god.
But that was bizarre. It was a bizarre sort of. But the big thing with that was I was a little bit weirded out by how physically small he was. I was making jokes. It was seeing him in concert for the first time and experiencing it. And this is a guy who's like my idol for years, for at least 4 years, 5 years at that point. Influential time period, right? Like middle school and early high school. And like seeing this tiny little shriveled man who can't even play guitar.
And you're up close too.
Serious. I was, we meet, like I said, we literally, like, it's general admission, and we just booked it, and we're like throwing elbows at all these boomers.
Yeah.
Get out of the way. We made it up to the front. So then I'm up there, and like, it's just like, he comes up, I'm like, this is my idol. It threw me off for a solid, like, year after that.
That bugged you, huh?
Really bugged me.
Yeah.
I shouldn't, I'm not like that, but like, it really threw me off.
Because you were in high school.
Also, he was almost impossible to understand. I don't know what was happening at that tour. He got better. He's more clear, his pronunciation and things. Maybe, and honestly, I'm joking around a little bit about his age and stuff, but I almost wonder if there was issues with his teeth or something at the time.
Really?
I'm not joking. You're listening to this guy's a dick. No, I'm serious. Like, I almost wonder if, like, I know guys who are like of that age, because he would be about, he's 80. He would have been about.
So you're talking about 65.
60 something. Yeah, 65.
Yeah. Okay, sure.
I mean, even when you look at like older stuff, like he's always kind of covering up his teeth. I don't know. You never know.
Okay. So it was sort of marble mouth. It was hard to understand what he was getting out. So a couple of years after that, is that when you saw him with me at Summerfest?
Yeah, so I went several years after that. I think we saw
him in 2009.
So 6 years probably.
Okay.
6, 7 years after I saw him.
Yeah. What do you remember about that show? And then I'll share, because I wonder if there's much of it. Because I can tell you what I remember.
So that one, well, yeah. So I do remember all of it.
Yeah.
I remember all of it, regardless of what you say about how my
sure.
mindset or state when we were there. No, what was interesting there was that the exact opposite experience of my first one. We were incredibly far away. We were in the lawn seats over at the Marcus in Milwaukee, for anyone who's, sort of really far away. The cheap seats.
Yeah.
And so, who was it? It was Willie Nelson. I forgot who else was playing as well prior to that.
I don't know if anybody else played before, because it was supposed to be John Mellencamp. The three of them went on a baseball diamond tour, and the only show on the whole tour that didn't get Mellencamp was us. Milwaukee Summerfest at the Marcus Amphitheater, which is too bad, because I at the time I liked Mellencamp more than both, and I did not think
too busy giving it to Meg Ryan.
Yeah.
I'm too busy with Meg Ryan for Milwaukee.
Sorry, Milwaukee.
No, I think it was just the exact opposite experience, where we were so far away.
Yeah.
And the thing that was ridiculous, I think now in hindsight, I don't think he's doing it anymore, but and you know this, like what happened was he. So Willie Nelson used the Jumbotron that they have there, whatever you want to call it, the big screen. No concert effects or anything like that. Just literally a video of him performing. For people like us who who were in college and couldn't afford more than like 20, we were scraping together dimes to make the $30 to get into the to the grass seats, right? And Dylan comes on, and the jerk doesn't put on the Jumbotron. And I thought it was a problem. I went and complained I went and go bought a beer. And then also, while I bought the beer, it was like, hey, something's wrong with the Jumbotron. Because like, no, nothing wrong with the Jumbotron. Because the artist has said he does not want to use the Jumbotron. And I'm like, why? And he goes, I guess he says it should be about the experience or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? So like I went back to him like, she's not doing the Jumbotron.
It was a decision that like
this is a
came
decision.
from the top.
Yes.
Yeah. I do remember that. That was incredibly frustrating because when you're on the lawn at Summerfest, unfortunately, you cannot see the artist, especially if they're stationary and hidden behind a piano.
Yes.
Like I could see a couple of guys in the band, but I could not see Bob for most of it.
And we talked about this after. There's an impulse, and I did honestly send him an email.
Yes, tell us about that.
I sent his public email.
Okay, so
never
you
got to Dylan. Of course.
Tell the story. You went to his
I was
website. You
frustrated. I went
found
to his website, found the public address for it, and then sent him an email and was like I get the impulse to have it's like all about the experience. Like this is where to make this. Is, that's kind of like cool. It's kind of anarchic. It's like whatever. It's like, but then you don't take my money. Then you don't take any of these people's money. Like you want to make a statement, but you don't. And I think it's because you're vain, and I think you don't want people to see your
right
like crumbling face on this Jumbotron. I didn't say that, but like I said, I think it's your vain.
Yeah, vanity. Yeah,
it's vanity. I said then you shouldn't take my money, and I said the only people who you're penalizing are your fans who can't afford to spend the money to be up close, and like I don't understand it. And I also said, and frankly, if that's really your impulse, then you shouldn't amplify the music either. Because what's the difference between putting yourself up on a Jumbotron and amplifying the music so I can hear you at the very end of the thing? To me, I think it was all about vanity.
I think there's something to that because of all the concerts I've seen, and I've seen a lot in almost 15 years I've been seeing shows I've known. You've seen your fair share of concerts. I have never experienced that, especially in a big venue where they leave the videos off. Never. I mean, that's why it exists.
The initial impulse is to be like, that's kind of cool.
Okay,
and I think
sure.
now because I make enough money where I'm a lot further down the thing. I'm privileged enough now to be able to be like further down and actually able to maybe see the artist if they don't put the Jumbotrons on. Maybe not, but at the age that I was then, and with the economic situation I was in at that time, that was just purely punitive for people who were poor.
Well, that's what I was too. I was in college at that time too, and it was like I and also was certainly not in the headspace at I guess I would have been 21 that like I could appreciate his thinking on that if he was genuine and it wasn't vanity. I was 21 and it was just like, well, what the hell? I'm here to see a show. At least put on the Jumbotron so I can, if you don't want the camera locked on you, you got a whole other band, just put the video on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very weird. And definitely very important. And I'm sure he got that email and read it.
Because I think he's doing the...
He probably put the videos back on, and it might have been because of you.
He'll see this.
Yeah. Yeah, he's
Be sure to give my contact.
Right, we'll pass that along, and he'll reimburse.
Just wanted to say thanks. Hey,
I've had some time to reflect.
Oh God.
Yeah, more good Dylan impressions. That is totally original.
I said I want to talk to Samson.
So, do you have a Dylan record collection? I have this record, and I also have this Slow Train Coming record, which I gotta say, I know his Jesus Freak stuff gets beat up on. I like this record.
That's still 70s, Dylan.
Yeah, 79, right?
Yeah, that's the end of the good stuff.
It's gotta serve somebody on it, which is in my top 10 for Dylan songs. John Lennon hated that song, but I don't care.
Literally, this is why, because it was his Jesus Freak. Period is a slow train coming. Once the train arrives, holy crap! It's horrible music.
Well, look at the back. Yeah, it's got the cross and everything.
Anyways,
there's a lot of it. We're not going to get into his Jesus period, but like there's some,
not today.
Not today. Maybe another time.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have to table that. What is your Dylan collection, and what did it start with?
Yeah. So I got in a weird period when I was, I styled myself a Buddhist for a while.
Oh, boy.
So I sold off a lot of my Dylan records and have then since had to kind of rebuild my collection. Yeah. So vinyl I've got, on the tracks, I've got Highway 61, Revisited. I've got, which I haven't revisited in a while.
Okay, great.
So that's a dad joke.
Yep.
Sorry for that one.
That's for all the dads out there.
I'm trying to think what else I got. Pat Garrett, Billy the Kid.
There you go.
More because I love the movie. The album's okay.
Yeah.
It's a great movie.
So when you were getting all this stuff the first time, were you actually getting records or were you getting CDs?
First time with CDs.
Okay. So
and then vinyl a little bit later. I didn't sell any of the vinyl off.
Oh,
so like
smart.
Pat Garrett's from like being in high school
Yeah.
and stuff. They didn't make money on vinyl at the time.
Right.
No one was listening to vinyl when I was in high school.
Yeah.
I was what you call an early adopter.
And I was too. That's
Yeah.
why I have the record
It's
collection
cheap.
I did.
I like it better when it's cheap. You could go to like half price books and pick up stuff for like 59 cents.
Yeah.
Like a vinyl record. But no, it was great. CDs. I mean, like I said, all the early Dylan that I mentioned earlier, I've had it. I bought back most of it.
Okay. So you were like 7 when you first saw Dylan on TV. When did you first start?
Middle school.
Okay.
Was when I started getting into him. Probably like 12, 13.
Okay.
For whatever reason, I decided to get into Dylan.
So you were big on his 60s stuff. Was there ever a point where you wanted to see what he was doing currently?
Yeah.
Okay. What was the first current Dylan record that you got your hands on?
Yeah, I mean, so I had... Yeah, I think I bought Time Out of Mine after, like later on. So the first one I ever bought was Love and Theft.
Okay.
In the store.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that I know the exact date that I went to go buy Love and Theft.
Mm-hmm.
So I drove down on my bike.
Right.
I was 14, 15.
Okay.
On my bike to the Borders.
Oh!
This is when Borders was still in existence.
Yeah, and that's gone now.
It is very much gone.
Yeah.
And I remember I got there it was right after school.
Okay.
Like, in my mind, everybody was going out for the new Dylan. But of course, and now we won't laugh about this because of course nobody was going out for the new Dylan. It was a ghost town because that was September 11th of 2001.
Right.
That Love and Theft was released, and nobody's on the streets hardly. It was bizarre, and I just remember I ride my bike. Gotta get that Dylan.
Was this? So this would have been. No, this was after school. So
it was after school. It was a bizarre. But I always remember it was September 11, 2001 because it was that was the day
that was the release date.
They released it.
Okay. Did you listen to it that day?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Like 3 times I listened to it.
Were you really picturing like a line out of the door?
In my mind, it was like, this is gonna be hot. I don't know. Like in my mind, it was like he's still a big artist. I'm thinking like, so and that was before streaming. I mean,
of course,
it wasn't before streaming. That's not true. Napster was around for sure, but it was before. I mean, certainly like Dylan's target audience wasn't streaming that much. Probably. Okay. So I'm thinking in my mind, it was like, oh, there might be some people, my parents' age, like a lot of thing. And so like one day, I remember like just taking my little trick bike, my little GT dyno, just going down the hill to go and get it.
You're a big fan of Bob.
Oh.
Are there not just songs here and there, or maybe records? Is there anything he's done that you have a strong dislike of? Is there anything he's put out that or said or done, or anything that just turned you off, and it was just like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, when he didn't put the damn jump.
Oh, sure.
The thing. I wrote him. That is honestly like the biggest.
That's I stepped on a rake there. No, I mean, okay, outside of that.
No, so most of his, I'll be honest with you, most of his like public stuff that he's said and done, I like. Even his like whole Christian period, it's like, okay, he's evolving.
Yeah.
Like the thing I really like about Dylan is that he unapologetically just changes and then makes no reference or anything to what he previously did, but incorporates it, I think, succinctly into what he's currently doing.
Yeah.
Like when he found God, when he went to, no, but like in all honesty, he seemed to absorb. Like he went away from that after 3 albums.
Yeah. And
in his personal life, he walked away from like the born again belief system, seemingly.
Yeah.
Right. But seems to have incorporated a lot of the imagery and the words and the lyrics and stuff. That he incorporated a lot of that biblical imagery from the New Testament and Old Testament. I think Revelation specifically, he seems to be really, which I think a lot of great writers are influenced by the book of Revelation. Anyways, but he absorbed that into his current way in which he writes, I think. You can still hear that. So I don't have any problem with like any of his public statements. None of it really bothers me. He was a little dicey with like the Beatles. He was kind of a jerk to like Lennon.
Oh, but you're talking about back in the day.
Oh, way back.
Yeah.
It's like, and I think they were
Kind
a
of
little bit
a-
with him. They were a little bit jerks to him because it was kind of like, I think very similar to my thing was like, I think they were like seeing a guy who they kind of idolized.
Yeah.
And he's this creepy little drunk high dude who can't barely function and say anything, puking and stuff. I think out the window of the.
Yeah, there's that famous video.
Yeah.
where
And it's
they're on
like,
the car.
I think they're kind of thinking the same thing. It's like, oh God, this is.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you sent me that video of him and Donovan arguing. And
No, that's great. I like
That's one of
that.
the funniest things I've ever seen in my life.
Threw that glass in the street.
Yeah, this is
Who
my
did
fault.
it? Now you better tell me, man. If somebody don't tell me who did it, you're all gonna get the fuck out of here and never come back. Now who did it? I don't care who did it, man. I just want to know who did it.
I agree.
Now, come on.
I was out there.
I don't care who was it. Hey,
Who
don't.
did it?
I don't want none of your shit, man. You
I'm
threw a
not
glass
giving
in
you
the
shit.
street.
I'm not giving you shit. No,
What'd you do it for, man? What'd you throw a glass in the street for?
I
You had to-
didn't throw a glass in the street.
Well, show me the person that did. If you don't have him here, man,
No,
I'm
I'm
talking
not.
about a 10.
I'm not.
You
I'm
better
sorry.
take responsibility for
All
it. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You got him here?
No. I wouldn't.
Hey, man, I'm not kidding you. You
I'm
think
going.
I'm kidding? He's going to clean up that glass, man. I'll clean it up. I'll clean up your glass,
I'll help
man.
you, man. I didn't throw any fucking glass in the street, man. You know, if I had,
That's true.
and I wanted to believe it.
Well, who did, man?
That's what I'm talking about, though. So, the other thing I was talking about with the Beatles, it is what it is. I think that's just he just had a little too much to
Whatever it was,
and
yeah.
It is what it is. The Donovan thing is that Midwest, like, hey man,
Yeah.
don't throw a glass out the window. They're gonna think I did it, and they're gonna be mad at me about it, and my people. And I want to know who did it.
Yeah.
Don't throw glass.
He's
so not rock star at all. Like,
Right.
You got like the Eagles throwing like TVs and mattresses and whatever out into the pool.
Keith Richards.
And Dylan's like,
Now.
Yeah.
who threw the glass?
Yeah.
It makes me like him.
That-
That's the rural guy from Minnesota. That's what I'm talking about.
You know what?
I like that.
I absolutely am with you on that because it is so not what you would expect from a rock star, and that sort of points to a bigger question like, is it right to call Dylan a rock star, and would you say he is appropriately labeled classic rock?
Yeah, and it's because it's such a varied genre, anyways.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think if his fans from the folk idiom and genre are going to throw him away because of what he did in '65, at Newport, right?
Yep.
It's Monterey earlier, it's Newport. I think it's only appropriate that you would include him in. Also, the level of influence he's had on, artists as varied as, God, the Byrds, the Beatles, the Stones, all the way up through, in the 90s, PJ Harvey, Rage Against the Machine, Pearl Jam. The level of influence he's had on these artists who are define what the classic rock genre idiom is I think, yeah.
He's well put.
He's well put.
He's well put, and
also-
classic rock has certainly embraced him and said like, oh yeah, he's one of us.
Yeah, and also I think his music is, you say he's folk. He's not. They're definitely. Especially in the '70s, his stuff definitely.
Yeah.
He does country albums too.
Yeah.
You could.
Yep, Nashville Skyline. Charlie Daniels is on that one.
Cash is on that one.
Oh, right. That's right. Yeah. What am I saying?
Yeah.
A much better country artist there. His '80s record "Infidels" has definitely got a rock and roll vibe to that. So, very good. Okay.
Traveling Wilburys.
Oh, of course.
That definitely
of course.
puts him right in there with
I was going to bring up the Wilburys because that's another interesting project that I don't know that a lot of people realize. That is almost, the singles aren't, but the album cuts on both of those records, Dylan sings lead on almost all of them. Like they all deferred to him.
They were like,
especially after Roy died.
Yeah, I feel like the guys in that band were like, okay, we got all these wonderful artists.
Yeah.
Like for vocals, we need quality.
Yeah,
Dylan.
Yeah,
we're looking at you, Bobby.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm happy to step up to
in the monkey then. Yeah. Oh man. Those are still good records, but it is very weird that Jeff Lynne and George Harrison, who have both very, and even Roy only sings lead on one in the first record, all, better vocalists, I think, but they all deferred.
He's got a certain... It's okay. He's monotone in a sense.
Yeah.
There's a definite, like, monotone quality to Dylan's voice. But I still think he emotes. I think you listen to some of his stuff, it's better than the covers, certainly better than the covers in terms of the emotional connection with the artist that you get. So, like, he's not a horrible... He gets maligned too much as a vocalist. He's got some...
If you're not...
hit or miss, man. There's some stuff.
I mean, maybe it's abrasive to people who are real... And this was the case for me for years as just strictly a casual sampler who's not listening to the lyrics, not particularly open to really feeling anything at the moment, just wants to have something on. That's not the right context to listen to him, I guess.
Anyone who thinks he can't emote and they can't like produce an emotional response and isn't, listen to The Lonesome Death of Hattie Carroll.
Okay, we got a recommendation.
There you go.
So on the note of recommendations, because I think we're going to start wrapping it up here, give me, let's say your top three favorite Dylan records. Right. Desert Island Records, you get 3 of them. Tell you what, I'll go first. I'll let you mull it over.
Yeah, I know. I got to think about it. You've been thinking about this.
So, yeah, because I've listened to a lot of Dylan recently. Well, one of them is this one right here. I love Blood on the Tracks. That's a good record. I also really like Bringing It All Back Home. I think that's of his 60s output. I like that one a lot. And my Dark Horse wild card is what I mentioned earlier. I really liked Infidels.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Desire.
Okay. Yeah.
70s Dylan. I'm a huge fan of... And this is kind of the dark horse, I guess, because it's Dylan in the band. It's from the '60s. It was done in the... I mean, it was released in the '70s, which is the Basement Tapes. I really like that. That genre of music is fantastic.
That's also a mountain of music, right? Isn't that like a 4-disc set?
I think it was 4. It might have been 4 records.
4 records. Okay, 2 discs. Okay.
I think it's
never mind that. Yeah.
But it's still it's a big album.
Yeah.
Is the point. It's a lot of traditional music. It's a lot of stuff that they did that kind of sound like traditional music. And it's frankly, a lot of the music's bizarre. And it's kind of an ode to, I can't think of it now, the Folkways, the collection of American music that was hugely influential. I cannot think of the name of it now. You put it in the...
I'll put it in post.
Put it in post, yeah.
It's right here.
I own I own it too, which is sad. I just can't think of it. I don't know why. But
this is a record of his, and you can't think of it?
No. It's a record. I'm saying it influenced heavily by it's like called Old Weird America is what Grill Marcus called it, which is like this sort of like the bizarre music that was put out, like folk music from like the 30s, 40s.
Okay.
And anyways, a hugely influential folk, rock, blues. I mean, every genre was represented in bizarre. It's really cool.
Okay.
Yeah, Folkways put it out. Smithsonian put it out. I just can't think of the actual title of it.
Gotcha. We'll get it.
So yeah, so Basement Tapes, Desire, and then probably, the problem is like probably my favorite Dylan song is not.
That's gonna be the next question.
I'll leave it alone. Then Subterranean Homesick Blues or Bring It All Back Home.
Oh, okay. There we go. I was just going to say, that song. Yeah. Very cool. All right. Well, then how about we go to songs instead of one? Let's do top 5 favorite songs. Not necessarily best, not necessarily recommendations. Top 5 that mean the most to you. Because that's what I put down. The ones that stick out to me, Knocking on Heaven's Door. I hadn't heard it in a while. I thought that one would have slipped out because, that was the one I always said was my favorite. But I re-listened to it earlier this week, and that one moves me. Like, that registers. I really love that one. Rainy Day Woman, number 12 and 35. I know that's like, sounds like a joke song, but to me, that's the closest Bob ever got to like a party song. Like, I've played that at parties and it's fun. I remember I saw Joe Walsh in concert and he played that music while the band came out onto the stage, and it was like set the mood and it was really fun. So I know it's a silly song, but I get a kick out of it. Tangled Up in Blue, mentioned that one earlier.
Yeah.
That's just a good old-fashioned rock and roll song. I get into that one a lot. I forgot how much I liked Hurricane.
It's a great song. That's Desire.
Yeah, and that's an epic one. It's like 8 minutes long. That's heavy lyrics in that one. But again, rock and roll, thought-provoking. I enjoy that one a lot. And then, of course, my Dark Horse song comes from my Dark Horse record, Union Sundown. I know all the true Dylan fans at home right now are thinking like I am the worst fan ever.
I think a lot of I think a lot of them probably like the true the real.
Yeah, the real diehards, the 50-year-old woman who Dylan set up the stage for her. She's at home.
I converted for him, and then I left the church after he left.
Yeah,
I love Slow Train Coming.
Well, I would have said Joker Man forever because I also really like Joker Man, but Union Sundown's got a little more rock and roll that I like.
What's the one? Every Grain of Sand. From was the third. What's the third in his trilogy of?
You have Saved, Slow Train Coming. Oh shoot!
Shot of Love.
Shot of Love.
Is Every Grain of
correct?
Sand? Or is it that's on Shot of Love? Isn't that I think Every Grain of Sand?
I believe that's correct.
That's a great freaking song.
Okay.
I love that song.
So yeah,
definitely not my favorites, but it's a good song.
There were a couple of tracks on Saved that I actually really liked, and
sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, so there you go. So there are my 5 wild picks. What are 5 that it doesn't? I mean, it doesn't have to be.
Spoke to me.
Yeah. Right.
My Backpage is probably my number 1. Even when I was younger, I respected the ideas behind that song. About you look back at what you've done and the strength and of your belief, and you're like, this is ridiculous. Why did you ever? Subterranean Homesick Blues is up there. And this is in no particular order.
Right. Yeah. Same.
Oh man, ISIS. Love ISIS. That's what.
Oh boy, I better not take that clip out of context. Just a 2-second clip of "I love ISIS."
Love ISIS.
You do this to anytime you're a guest on another podcast. I know you just make work for their editor.
Anyone who knows me knows I don't feel this way at all. I like to just, anyways. ISIS, I think, is a great song, despite the unfortunate title.
Right. Yep. That is a song title recorded decades before it was ever anything else.
It's not an acronym, it's the Egyptian goddess.
Right. And don't get mad at the TV show Archer either, okay? That was also way before.
His version of Forever Young, I think, is...
Oh!
A lot of people, I think, they think it might be a little cheap or something, because, Rod Stewart kind of...
Of course, yeah.
Thanks, Rod. Thanks, Rod. I love Rod Stewart, actually. It's just not that choice.
Wiggle, wiggle.
You know what? No. Actually, things have changed. Probably from the Wonderboy soundtrack is up there. I love that song. I used to care.
Yeah.
Things have changed. It's got you might get dark. That's a great album. Great song. It's a great song. Yeah.
I enjoyed that one too. Awesome. All right. Well, we've gone on for about an hour here. You know, we like the bourbon.
Well, Heaven's Door, Dylan's bourbon, is spectacular. It's an excellent bourbon.
You know, I've definitely listened to a lot of Dylan in the last couple of weeks. I think he's a fascinating artist. It was very fun to hear your perspective because you've been a lifelong fan of his. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
All right. One last time. Oh,
hey,
you
man.
don't have any.
No, we're good.
All right, cheers. That burns. And there you go. We tried the whiskey and talked about Dylan. Mission accomplished. I have to thank Chris for joining me and for being such a fun guest. If you enjoyed that conversation, I do have some good news. Chris and I were really happy with how it turned out, and because of that, he's agreed to return to the show for a series of more in-depth conversations about Bob Dylan in the future. I can't say too much about it now because we're still figuring out the details of how that's going to work, but keep an eye out for more Dylan conversations with Chris, starting probably next month. And then other things you can look forward to from this show. As I've said earlier, we have an episode about Steppenwolf coming up. I have some more interviews coming down the pipeline. I can't announce who they are just yet because we're still sorting out those details. And on the heels of this whiskey sampling, I've arranged to do a Rockstar beer sampling with a different friend of mine. I'm hoping that's going to be a lot of fun too, so stay tuned for that. And since Chris is not on social media, I would just implore you to remember the big 4 things you can do to support this show. 1, listen to this show. Hey, if you're at this part already, you did it. Thank you for that. If you enjoyed it, the second thing you can do is to recommend the show to family, friends, anyone you know who's looking for a podcast, particularly one about music. Post us on social media threads or in subreddits. Whatever you can do to get the word out, it is much appreciated. 3, find us on social media. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's more than just show postings. There's a lot of great stuff on all 3 platforms. And then, of course, the biggest ask of them all, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. That is so helpful in the early days of a show like this. And if you can just take a moment to even give us a nice rating, it would be much appreciated on my end. So if you have a moment, please do that. Otherwise, I just want to say thanks again for tuning in.